confident in you. Jaja, boy, you're not gonna make me suffer. Enemies trying them a fit, scatter and batter and flatter. Protect my people, Jah. No make them get caught in the crossfire. Protect my nation, Jaja. Cause we no want me no lamb to no slaughter. Protect my people, Jah. A Babylon start this wildfire. Protect my nation, Jaja. Protect my nation, Jaja. Downtown and on playground, you know. Holy potential trouble surround. Marcus prophesy, head I go roll. Me wonder if prophecy I go unfold. Uptown, can't go downtown, you know. All country people worried, you know. We means of survival blurred. Worries in a Middlesex land, well I'm sorry. Father help me, some heart and mercy. Father help me, preserve Jamaica beauty. Want you protect my people, Jah. No make them get caught in the crossfire. Protect my nation, Jaja. Hey, protect my people, Jaja. Hey, look at the youth them, watch them. Can the beats have a system to trap them? The police and the thugs are your children. And you alone have authority to judge them. Could I go suffer for bad? The place I go mad. Don't make it get bad like over Baghdad. When politics fail and religion fail, and the most I alone will. Protect your people, Jah. Now make them get caught in the crossfire. Protect my people, Jah. Cause we no want me no lamb to no slaughter. Protect your people, Jah. A Babylon start this wildfire. Protect your people, Jah, 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 Jah. I tell a town and a playground, you know. Holy potential trouble surround. Marcus prophesy, head I go roll. Me wonder if I know prophecy I unfold. Uptown, can't go downtown, you know. All country people worried, you know. We means of survival blurred. Worries in a Middlesex land, well I'm sorry. Father help me, some heart and mercy. It must I help me, preserve Jamaica beauty. Ooh, but why you protect your people, Jah? Now let them get caught in the crossfire. Protect your nation, Jaja. A Babylon start this wildfire. Protect your people, Jah. Cause they don't know what them doing. Protect your people, Jah. Let's get your pain and feed.
Everyone, I don't want to search this people building. Let the police get 3, 4, 5 jeeps to the search the building. I won't go into the building. I'm not going to this building. Says yesterday after people go to the building, people tell me no.
I'm asked for some men to go in your shorts, some men for young women also, some men for going to
empty the pool got empty, why the pool still have water? I think the pool is just empty right now. Then empty the pool still
yeah, for 10 minutes, I'm pure party, I was place all night, people have watched this place all night. Yeah, 10 minutes, I'm going to place. Yeah.
Over the ground, Paul. Show you over the ground.
You got footage, we shall never live it.
You got footage.
We shall never live it. Agree. So show that the first thing, I only touching on the first thing that people
see somebody to go over them thing now.
Information
I want somebody to join
that caused relatives that were here with the child.
Somebody go for it now.
I got fucking data.
We could clear the road.
Data move from there already.
Otherwise,
Because this man,
Be there. He hiding. He come.
This kind of situation. this policeman, they will make no sense.
Don't play with fucking me, you know. Don't play with me.
Let's show the phone where the girl there, Paul. Show the phone where the girl there. Show the phone where the girl there.
You got footage, we shall never let it.
You got footage.
We shall never let it.
Agree. So show that the first thing, I only touching on the phone. The first thing that people...
Thank you very much. See somebody.
With all due respect, right? I ain't heard from you. Since yesterday, I there here since 2 o'clock. And the owner for this place and everything. You have no time with me. I'm 11-year-old. You lock the door. Here.
Welcome to another edition of Voice of the Diaspora. As a nation continues to fight for justice for the family of 11-year-old Adriana Young, who died and was found in a swimming pool at the Doubleday Hotel, Tushen, in April. As we fight, the country and the diaspora continue to fight to see justice for Adriana. No one will let up. The family will not bury their dead until they are convinced of how she died. And as we continue this struggle, this segment of Voice of the Diaspora welcomes co-leader of the Working People's Alliance, Dr. David Hinds, to talk to us about whether there will be justice for Adriana Young and how must we fight to get it. Dr. David Hinds, welcome to Voice of the Diaspora.
Thank you, Norman, for having me again.
It has been a while since we talked. So much has happened. We are fully aware of what transpired at Linden when a policeman shot a young man in cold blood, and protest action ensued. The police killed one of the protesters. We understand nothing seems to have come out of that. It seems as though the police and the government have returned to extrajudicial killings and the high-handedness that would have transpired during the 23 years of the PPP's rule. Our subject today, however, is the death of Adriana Young, an 11-year-old girl who went to swim with her grandmother at a Doubleday Hotel in Tushen. She could not be found, and the family searched the swimming pool, they searched the grounds, they protested, they begged the police to search the building because they felt that that child was in the building. The pool was searched and nothing was found in the pool. The child obviously was not found in the pool. A day later, the child ended up in the pool dead, was found in the pool dead. A lot happened where the police would have released statements, Dr. Hinds, saying that they had video footage of the child leaving in a vehicle. They would have arrested a young man named Orlando, and all this seemed to be a part of the cover-up. None of it was true, and so today the family is crying for justice. Today the Guyanese world is still crying for justice. Dr. Hinds, talk to us.
Yeah, thank you again for having me, and your summary of what happened is as accurate as they come. It's not every day the death of an 11-year-old child generates the kind of response, mass response that we are seeing in Guyana and beyond Guyana. And so therefore it forces us to ask the question, why? I think that's where I want to start. Why? Children disappear all the time in Guyana. Children are killed all the time in Guyana in mysterious circumstances. We are hearing that similar incidents occurred at that very hotel in the past. The question that we have to struggle to answer, all of us, Why? Why this death has sparked the kind of response that we have? There are levels of analysis that we have to engage with. There is the level of the family. It's a child, working class family, African Guyanese family. They've lost a child, and they're mourning the loss of that child amidst a national crisis, because we are in the midst of a national crisis, and it's very difficult to lose a child in those circumstances. Even more difficult to have to mourn the loss of that child in the circumstances. It's more than 2 weeks, and the child has not been laid to rest yet. So there is that level, the level of the family. Then there's a level of the community. This child comes from a community. She comes from a working class community. In a country where the working class is not treated with dignity. She is African Guyanese. Her death comes at a time when the value system in Guyana does not value black lives in the same way that it values other lives. The government can run all over the world to deny that, but that is a truth, and I will give examples of that in this very incident that we're talking about. It is not the government that started the devaluation of black life. That goes way back 400 years. But this government has done nothing to deal with that systemic problem. And this government has the wherewithal to do so, but it has refused to do so. So let's put this thing in perspective. About a month ago, or over a month ago, about 6 weeks ago, Melly Mel was arrested in New York. And you see, I want to start there for a reason. And that incident had a particular effect on the Guyanese society. We had gone 5 years with a government running roughshod, a government on the rampage, doing what it likes, taking advantage of its designation of a democratic government, that the previous government officials had tried to rig an election, taking advantage of the America and other large countries' sympathy to the government, taking advantage of the fact that we're now a petrol state, and defense of and protection of property, protection of investment is now even more important than protection of life. Taking advantage of all of that, and taking advantage of an opposition that has been in disarray, understandably so. You don't get kicked out of government and not knowing that you get kicked out of government until you get kicked out of government, and not have a negative a reaction to that. Understandably, the opposition has been in disarray. And taking advantage of all of that, this government has been doing what it wants, which is quite unusual in Guyana. No government, including the Burnham government, which the PPP loves to demonize. Not even under the Burnham government was that government allowed to get away with what this PPP has been getting away with. So when Melly Mel was arrested, I think 3 women from the PNC Coretta McDonald, Nima Flo Bess, and Robin Simon decided that they're going to go on the road. And as insignificant as it is, they were going against their party leadership. The leader of the PNC had said that he's not going on the road because he fears that street protests would be infiltrated by the PPP. And he has grounds for that. But he has decided he's not going on the road. But here, 3 women from his party decided that they're going to go on the road. And they went on the road. They went to the Square of the Revolution. And they held, I think, 3 demonstrations. You know, managed to get a few hundred people out there. But the government was laughing. Oh, look, they can only get 100 people, 200 people. And they were making fun. Those of us who understand politics and understand Guyana had a different view. I paid attention and I gave that coverage. I gave that incident an interpretation, which is that we had finally broken the shackles and had reclaimed the road. Of course, when you're in the middle of doing something significant, you don't necessarily know because you're making history and you don't necessarily know. What you do is normal, what normal human beings do. But for those of us who are charged with studying and trying to make sense of what we're doing, that was a significant development. Not more than 2 or 3 weeks later, the police were back to their old tricks. Went into Linden, an African Guyanese working class community, shot a young man in circumstances that we have come to expect. The devaluation of Black lives is on show every day in Guyana. And so they killed that young man, and the next day, Linden came out on the road. Young people came out on the road. And there was a pitched battle with the police on that day. I took note of it. It's not very often that people in a spontaneous way come out and take on the police. The police shot in the crowd. Another young man was killed. The next day, the road was clear. Linden was off the road. And many of us asked the question, why? Why Linden came off the road? Something must have happened behind the scenes. Here were people, Monday night, a young man killed. Tuesday, they're on the road. Pitch battle. Another young man is killed, this time standing on the sidelines. The next day, the place is back to normal. If you're a political scientist and a political observer, you're paying attention to that. 2 weeks later, a little black girl disappears. And who shows up? The police. The police shows up and does some things. The first thing it did is that it stigmatized the child. It says, oh, we have evidence, we have pictures. She gone with a big man in a car. Now, a lot of people not talking about that. But I am talking about it because they didn't say, she gone up the road with your friends them to buy ice cream. They didn't say, we see her go off with our schoolmates walking somewhere. She went into a vehicle with a big man. Now, immediately what you did there is that you dishonor the girl as a child, as a female, but you're dishonoring an entire group. The lewd, the promiscuous African female. Everybody knows about it in Guyana. So here is the police. The first act of the police is to mislead the country One, and in the process of misleading the country, stigmatize an African child and African womanhood. All right? Now, people are standing there and they're seeing this thing. The police just killed 2 men in Linden. Here is the police here acting in strange ways. And so, therefore, the consciousness of the country was ready to say enough is enough. There comes a tipping point in human action, human beings, all right? And all of a sudden, the police shows up with that story, and the rest is history. So this story has several levels, like I said. The first level, here is a child being killed. And children are being killed in Guyana every day. Here's a child being killed, and that in itself is a human rights issue. But the other level of the story is that this child's killing opens up the country for a scrutiny that it has not come under in the last 5 years. So the child being killed, an act in itself, the child being killed as a moment for the country to exhale, a moment for the country to release pent-up emotions. And it's not individual emotions, it's a collective emotion. And people in their communities, unknown to others, are coming out. They're coming out with their candles, women, children. They're closing their eyes and they're singing. They're invoking their gods. When poor people of all races, but especially black people, begin to close their eyes and invoking their gods, know that they have had enough. I can tell you that, having studied black social and political behavior for the last 400 years, having studied that behavior, I can tell you something had begun to happen. And then all of a sudden, the different classes in the society, the poor working class boys and girls, the so-called scrapers, the forgotten of society, the sufferers, those who have to bear the brunt of the neglect, those who have to bear the brunt of the oppression in real ways, they also came awake. And the diaspora came awake. And so I am saying, to understand Adriana and what has happened, one has to take all those factors. Adriana has brought, or death has brought into full view of the world the condition of the working class in Guyana, the condition of the poor, poverty. It has brought into the full glare of the public race, the condition of the African in Guyana. Does the African life have the same value? Does the collective value system of Guyana place the same value of an African life that it plays on the other life? Let me tell you something. A lot of people are talking about Indian people being in front of the hotel when the thing started. And that's a fact. But here is something about that Indian presence. That Indian presence was there because Indian people too have children. And Indian people too, they belly boil when the child is violated. All right? But here's the story. The hotel was burnt. We don't know who burned the hotel. The owner house was burnt. We don't know who burned it. There were all kinds of rockers in front of that hotel. The police never fired a shot. And you know why they never fired a shot? Indian people were there. This very thing that we are celebrating as a good thing, that Adriana's death brought Guyana together, that is superficial. Adriana's death showed the different value system.
Exposed the different value
As
system.
soon as the demonstration left Tushen and went to Lenora that night, the police moved in. Bow, bow, bow. By then, the Indian people said, "Well, we story done it." This is now moving from the individual to the collective to the political. We are in that, right? We gone home, and the police shot at the people in front of Lenora police station. The next day, or a couple of days after, Georgetown Hospital, the police shot at them. The graphic picture of a young man with a police bullet proof, whatever that thing is, shield is, dodging bullet, is fresh in my mind and fresh in the world's mind. And after shooting at those people twice in 2 to 3 days, Monday night, 2 Mondays ago, was inevitable. Human beings are going to respond. And so we had those people, and I say people because all of them taking over Guyana for a night. What they did is to take their Guyana over. The police couldn't do anything. The army came in when the takeover had happened. Planes coming in had to be redirected to Trinidad. The people of Guyana took over the country in an act of defiance and resistance. And having taken over the country, they said, "Look, your country, but we are giving you notice that we are not happy." Now, what happened on Monday night has to be put in perspective. There were different publics. There were people who were out there protesting, the women with their candles standing in front of their yards that night. Then there were those who blocked the roads and burned the tires. They didn't go to Ghana and raid Ghana for guns and bullets. They didn't. They used what they had next to them to speak for them. Just as the women and young people were using their candles to speak for them. These guys were burning tires and blocking the roads. Then there were the looters, the ever-present young people. Whenever stuff like this happen, they proceed to steal and loot. But here is the thing about those looters. They didn't target Indian people. It's a miracle. For the most part, Chinese supermarkets were raided and looted and stolen from, and one cannot condone stealing and looting. Nobody. I don't even think the looters themselves, because if anybody got to steal from their house, they would be up in arms. So even the looters themselves don't agree with looting. So that's besides the point. But I want to say two things. The first people in Guyana to demonize Chinese and Chinese supermarkets is the Indian business class. The Indian business class complained to the government to go and loot, and I'm using the word loot here in broad terms, to go and loot the Chinese. They called on the government to put regulations against the Chinese. So these guys who robbed the Chinese restaurant are not the first to target the Chinese, but they did not target Indians, which shows that the agent provocateurs didn't have time to get into that crowd to go and target Indians. Yes, I think an Indian lorry or something like that, but they did not. And we have to see that as a positive development. In the wake of all the madness, Indian people were not targeted, and one has to see that
Well, they're claiming that acid was thrown on some Indian children and others of Indian descent. So many believe that it is the PPP that stepped in to create a smoke screen and so on. So they're trying to say that because of the death of Adriana, um, Indians were targeted, you know.
No, man, I don't go on speculation when it comes to these things. These are serious matters.
Yeah.
You have two men, young boys that they showed. They have their pictures. We are in a police state. You have surveillance cameras. They know who these guys. Why have they not been charged? Why have they not been charged? The state must say that. If indeed these guys throw acid in those children and the teacher face as a political act, they would have been before the court already. They would have been before the court already. That's another cover-up. That's another cover-up we're dealing with. So here we are. This young lady, this child, has not been buried. The government, for all intents and purposes, is doing everything to close the matter down.
Yeah.
Soon as the pathologist said she died from drowning, as far as the government is concerned, the matter is over. But the Guyanese people and the family say, no, it's not over. And so, here we are, 2.5 to 3 weeks later, there are more questions than answers.
And Dr. Hinds, what is your view? Now, someone can die from drowning. It doesn't mean that they would have to, they would have died in the pool. We saw that the pool was checked. There's an ongoing debate in relation to the family searching the pool, and a very popular social media influencer, Guyanese critic, would have done a live video showing the pool and said no one was in the pool, as you can see clearly. Let us go to this video quickly before I ask my question.
And as you can see, you see the pool here clear. Like when the family said they went in the pool and check, everybody went in the pool and check. Normally, you ain't got to check if there's a body in this pool. You could see it because the pool is clear, right? So, obviously the young lady, the 11-year-old who has gone missing from this place is not in this pool. And as you
people, that is why the Guyanese people are really up in arms, because there is a situation where this child had gone missing, and the family the grandmother raised an alarm. The family came. The child was not in the pool. They were claiming that the child was still in the hotel. The father was adamant that the child was in the hotel, locked up in the hotel, that was an abduction in itself. And so people came and they started to, and the police were actually protecting the hotel against anyone going in to search for the child. And then they came out with statements saying that the child would have left the hotel in a vehicle. They literally put out an official police statement saying that, and knowing that it wasn't true. The second thing is that many believe that the reason why Critic went to that pool is to show that the child was not in the pool, because this narrative that the child would have left in a vehicle would have gained traction. My question is, I think that the child family has two prominent Guyanese lawyers at the moment, and they believe that something is all right. The three pathologists pronounced it as drowning. Could that child have been drowned elsewhere, in another way and thrown into that pool subsequently to cover things up. What is your take on this whole scenario where the pool was empty? Of course, Guyanese critic who was supposed to be on this program called and said he's traveling. He doesn't have any Wi-Fi, and you know, what are your thoughts in relation to all of this? Because I believe that it is these discrepancies that would have caused the world to say, you know what, this is unadulterated wickedness. And this is murder. People are convinced, including the family. And that is why the child is not buried. No one is trusting the police. They haven't even trusted the pathologists that would have done the thing, and they're professionals. What this program heard is that there was a format in which this thing was done. One pathologist would have to release the statement to say what the child died of. The other pathologists did not say this program understand that, you know what, this child died in this pool by drowning or anything. You understand? But the statement was released, we understand, by the pathologists, the government's pathologists that came from Barbados. So they had a system in which they get the findings, they do the autopsy, then one person is responsible in the team to writing it up and say, this is what is the outcome. But Doctor Hinds, talk to us a bit about that. The swimming pool we saw. Could that child have died elsewhere?
I'm guided by those who are expert on these matters. I am not an expert in these matters, but I'm a normally sensible person, I think, and everything that I've heard, everything that I've seen, everything that I've heard from lawyers, knowledgeable experts. I myself have a pool in my backyard here, and every now and again, the pump goes down and the water gets murky.
Yeah.
And I think it's a 7-8 foot pool, and it occurred to me that when the water gets murky, I can still see
at the bottom
to the bottom of my pool. And I was doubting myself after I hear that, well, you know, if the pool is murky, you can't see. So when my pool attendant came the other day, I said, sir, if you come here and in this pool and I drown in this pool and the water is murky, are you going to be able to see me at the bottom of the pool? He said, Mr. Hinds, we are not necessarily going to be able to see you, but we will see a mass. A body at the bottom of a pool, even if that
You'll
pool
see
is
an object,
murky,
yeah.
you will see an object and mass at the bottom there. That mass could be a stone, it could be a body, it could be a cat, it could be a dog. We wouldn't be able to necessarily say it's a body of a child or a man, but we will know that there's an object at the bottom there. And so even for lay people, it is rather straightforward. The fact of the matter here, why is the government fighting so hard to close the matter without due diligence, without exhaustive investigation? Why? And so I am asking that question, as everybody's asking, why the government? No. Again, historical memory is precious. Boston was murdered. Look at all the stories that were told about Boston. As it turned out, they went into that man's house and murdered him in his bed. Remember Quindon Bacchus?
Quindon Bacchus, yeah.
They said he shoot and this and that. As it turned out, no shooting. These stories are not new. They are not new. Now, we're talking about the police, and I'm glad the emphasis is on the police. But the police is not an autonomous agency. Always let's remember that. Guyana's police, unlike its military, civilian-led. All right? It's not like in Latin America where the army tends to be autonomous, or in Africa where the army tends to be autonomous, and so you get coups there where an army officer is. Guyana's army and police are civilian-led. A police is going to take action if he or she is directed to take action, or he or she will take action if he or she believes that is what the civilian leadership would want them to do. And let me repeat that. It's good that we are talking about the police, but let us not talk about the police as though they're autonomous. The police is civilian-led. And in Guyana, civilian-led means led by the party in government. Because it's the party in government that runs the police force and runs the army. And so everything that the police is doing, I am arguing here today, they're doing it via the instruction of the political government, and or they're doing what they presume the political government would want them to do. It's a combination of the two. And so therefore, when we're talking about the police, we're talking about the state. This is the state acting. This is not the police acting. The police here is the face of the state. And so I'm raising this argument on another level. Nomenclature matter.
But you talk. 1 second. You're talking about police. Just an update, Dr. Hinds. As we speak, the crime chief, Wendell Blanham, is now giving an update, providing an update as we speak. It started 5 minutes ago. An update on the investigation into the death of the 11-year-old. I think they're watching you, Dr. Hinds. They're watching you. They are watching. I am not joking. Now, Wendell Blanham, the crime chief, on iNews, the government's mouthpiece, is carrying it live at the moment. Go ahead, Dr. Hinds.
Yes, the police is not acting. Remember when the lawyers went to meet with the commissioner? The commissioner is going into a high-level meeting like that. You're walking with your crime chief.
Yes.
The crime chief was not there.
He was
you
not
want
there.
to tell me something has gripped the country? I don't care what the crime chief is doing. Nothing can be more important than that. His absence from that meeting was deliberate. The commissioner of police feigned ignorance deliberately because they're waiting on instructions from the state. Only the other night, if I might divert for a minute.
Go ahead, take your time.
The Attorney General said David Hinds, he called me the man from Arizona, is responsible for the scores of young black men that they have in jail. That my program, I come on my program and I, maybe according to him, direct these young men what to do. But here is what is important. But the state agency will have to look at him differently now. They will have to look. Here is the Attorney General directing the police what to do to me. And he does it. He doesn't look around. He just does it. So, if as we are talking about the police, I want to take this thing to the next. It is not the police as the police. It is the police as the political state. Remember only the other day, Transparency International said the government is what? The captive of the political and economic elites in this country. Now, the attention is being pointed to a member of the economic elite. Something at that hotel that must involve management and ownership. I don't know whether they were part of the murder or not, but it was on their property. And clearly, the police, from the word go, came out in defense of the economic elite and not in the defense or the protection of the life of that young man. Again, the value system. When you compare the economic interests in the society, those who own property, you compare their value with the value of a little working class girl, clearly the state puts much more value on a member of the economic elite in protecting them. And so therefore, it is the hand of the state that is written all over this matter. And that is why that thing escalated from a private matter of a child in an obscure family to a national and international
matter. Dr. David Hinds here on Voice of the Diaspora. Dr. Hinds, we know that the fight for justice for Adriana continues. We know that. We see communities across Guyana fighting. We see Guyanese in the diaspora speaking out. We see our fellow Caribbean neighbors, brothers and sisters, even the artists, Sizzler, Spice, all these legendary artists coming out and speaking out in relation to the death of Adriana Young. Today, many believe that the political opposition is perhaps most lukewarm. The political opposition, in fact, many believe that the political opposition has encouraged the government's lawlessness because the government believes in an election year, that they can pull these stunts. And it seems as if it is a test. It's a test before our political representatives, those who represent the masses of sufferers, that it is a test, the ultimate test, where the situation is so dark that it threw the world into grief, the Guyanese world into grief. And many believe it's a test of the resolve of the political opposition. I know you will give an expert view on that, because many believe that a government could only do as much as an opposition allows it to do. You know, the Adriana situation is an extraordinary situation that someone would say to you, the government getting away with all kinds of stuff, the police getting away with all kinds, they're shooting black people, they're shooting our young men or whatever. They probably could get away with more, abducting a little young girl, murdering a little young girl in the most blatant way, and lie, and being caught lying and everything, and nothing will happen to anyone. Someone could just say to us a while, the fact remains is that it happened. It happened, Dr. Hinds. And it tests us that want to remove a regime by the ballot. It tests us. Every one of us, it tested in the opposition. And we were weighed in the balance and found wanting. And so you're an expert. I have tremendous respect for you. I will call politicians out. I would get kind of crass sometimes, but my respect for you is paramount. And you can reprimand me at any juncture, off air or on air. But I say this to you, and I believe what the people said to me. A government and its police and the lawlessness that has gripped Guyana could only be allowed to thrive if the vanguard that is supposed to be there for the people, that is requiring of the people their votes to empower them, that if they cannot craft directly or indirectly a response that is effective and a response that will bring justice. You know why this matter is political, Dr. Hinds? Because the government has taken a position that this thing must be over with. It must be swept under the carpet. It has become political. It is not the opposition that made it political. It is the government that made it political. And so I want your expert response. You said it shows the value system in Guyana in relation to blacks and other ethnicity, how blacks are treated. The family of Adriana have decided in their grief, in their pain, many would want to take their child, bury that child, and say it's over. She needs to rest. Many said she needs to rest. But in the grief, in the anguish, in the eternal nights and shortest days, they said, we will not bury her until justice is had. Let me say this, Dr. Hinds. Let me say this. This is your program, but you know, I just want a second to say what I got this. Let me say this to you. If the death of Adriana brings no justice for the family, there will never be any justice or peace for black people and the poor and downtrodden in Guyana that decide that they don't want anything to do with a regime that is oppressing and suppressing them. I'm saying this to you. Here is a situation where two young lawyers, accomplished lawyers, have decided to take on that case. And before you deal with that aspect, and I would like you to tie in this aspect also, because you will be talking. Listen to this, Dr. Hinds, listen to this. I want our viewers to listen to this today.
Mr. Todd, the funeral of little Adriana Young was postponed. It was set for last Monday, the 5th of May, and that was postponed. Is the family now considering burial arrangements?
I don't think anyone could say it better than the mother and father. There will be no announcement of the burial of this girl until there is adequate and satisfactory answers in relation to her death. They have moved out of the stage of mourning and they are joining hands with every single Guyanese who will join their hands in ensuring that the truth is unearthed. And so if it means that this body has to be embalmed, they are also exploring that, but they will not put her to rest in the earth until answers are given, until a satisfactory investigation is done. And that is their position.
Of the diaspora, you heard one of the attorneys for the family saying what the family, saying what the position of the family is in relation to their daughter's death and the struggle for justice. Dr. Hinds, over to you.
Norman, look, the elites in Guyana, on the government side and the opposition side, are a combination of cowards, they lack knowledge about politics and the society that we live in. So in some regards, they're lazy. So it's a combination of cowardice and laziness and expediency. They do not react to a panoramic situation. They zero in on something happens, they go to that thing and don't link that thing to the larger thing. I was terrified when I heard one opposition leader immediately after Monday night said, "We are against blocking roads and burning tires." I threw myself back and I said, there goes the permission that the government needs to go after not just the guys who looted and stole, but to go after activists who are thing, because you have delivered your people. You didn't take some time and say, let me try to understand this. You come out. I'm against burning tires and so on. You know, Norman, you're younger than me, but you can't be that young that you didn't know. Indian people burned cane.
Cane fields. Yeah.
They didn't burn tire. They burned cane fields.
Yes.
It's burning. And those canes belong to the state, just as the roads belong to the state. And our opposition politicians who have the microphone can't say that. If you say that you're educating an entire nation and you are legitimizing your own people who are taking action, the press is not going to come and shove a microphone in front of my face, because that's what I will tell them. But the media decide who's important and who's not important, right? And they decide that, the leaders of the so-called big parties, they are important, so they go to them. And none of our political leaders, none of our political elites, none of our economic elites was at forthcoming as Dr. Dexter Todd there representing the family and speaking very frankly. You have to understand what you're dealing with. How can you be saying, I call for peace and calm, when the government is raining terror? Terror is rain and you are talking about peace and calm. I best shut up. Say nothing. A government is breaking all rules and you are talking about peace and calm. A government is covering up the death of this young lady, and you are talking about peace and calm. A government is charging young men who steal for terrorism, and you are talking about peace and calm. Police are shooting into crowds. Young man from Buxton, they said they're catching thief in. I know that young man. I know him. He's not a thief. He works every day. A man is shot in his eye in your hometown, Linden. Nobody's talking about it. My sister Manza hear about acid shown on some Indian children, and she finds her way in Montrose. But she doesn't find her way up to Linden. So the value system.
But the man was shot in his eye in his home, in his yard.
In his home.
He wasn't out there doing anything.
Yeah, my point is, and I love Amanza, but she just is inexperienced. You just don't do that. When you do that, you are legitimizing the narrative that black people are violent and that at any opportunity they are going to injure Indian people. No, nothing is wrong in going and visiting families, but sometimes you have to step back and say, if I go and visit the family this time, what is the message I'm sending? And the message I'm sending is that I have agreed that these people were attacked by people of my race. And as a member of, as a leader, I have to go there and give my sympathy. And it may well be a domestic matter that, she has gotten herself into, right? And as I said to, Sister Manza, you got about, at a minimum, 400 black families to go visit who've been murdered by this government. Some people put it at 1,400. You got a lot of work to do, sister. My point is that the opposition leaders see politics as expediency. and not about the question of what it is to be human. If black people are the ones who these things are directed at, say it. Say it. Don't hide to say it. It may lose you 100 Indian votes. But what it does is you clear your mind because you are saying that black lives have the same value as other lives. And if in saying that I'm going to lose 100 votes, yes, I know elections is about arithmetic, but you cannot sacrifice lives, dignity for votes. And that's my problem with my sisters and brother leaders, you know? And I think, well, they're walking back the issue. You know, some of them are now talking about poverty and, you know,
Yeah, well,
the unprivileged in
they are.
society.
But you spoke about a man, sir. And I want to ask you this question: in your estimation, as the co-leader of a political party, the WPA, as a co-leader of the WPA, what would you say about Anto, the leader of the opposition and the leader of the AFC? What would you say to them that they could have done or they can still do, you understand, to come up to par in convincing the people of Guyana that the death of Adriana must see justice and that justice must come? Justice must come. Guyana is a highly politically charged country, and politics takes precedence over everything else. And that is why Hicken, the commissioner of police, will sit down and wait for the directive of Barajat. I'm saying it on this program. I have nothing to hide. Our people got to understand something, and we're going back to the ineffectiveness of our opposition. When Barajak deal will place people in position and strategically do what he has to do, creating a climate, you understand, that is fertile in the future for situations like this to be buffered, dismissed, discarded, and sent into the wilderness. This is all it is. This is a situation where the chessboard is set, and you did not confront that. You did not play that game there and then to ensure that the game of chess becomes even. You allow it to happen. And now when the chess game is in play and you are not at the table, what? Dr. Hinds, Guyana, and Guyanese depend on political leadership. In fact, the PPP supporters depend on the PPP for them to say no justice for Adriana. You hear the vile things they say. You read the vile things they write on social media. There's no heart. There is no feeling. It's a black child. The point I'm making is this: we will have to bury our own dead, and we will have to fight our own battles, and we will have to die for our own people. But back to the question: what did the AFC leader and the leader of the opposition did or did not do or can do to ensure that justice is for Adriana?
They did not integrate justice for Adriana into their stump speech. As political leaders, we have our stump speech. You know, everybody suffers, including Indian people. Stump speech. That's. It don't mean much beyond chat, right? Because Indian people suffer differently from African people and Amerindian people. And an Indian child dying in the circumstances Adriana died, it would have been treated different. By now, we would have had a proper investigation, and the family would have been told something. All right. So, how you integrate a development like this into your stump speech? And they have not done that. They've treated this incident outside of their stump speech rather than integrated it into their stump speech. And so they're not able, for example, to define what justice for Adriana means. Justice for Adriana family means that we must have a proper investigation that says the truth. The family wants to know the truth. Having gotten the truth, then they want to see action taken against the perpetrators. Then third, they need to be compensated. Not that compensation will bring, but compensation is something symbolic. So for the family, justice means the truth.
The truth, the truth. Yeah.
Action taken against the perpetrators.
Yes.
And it means state compensation. That's for the family. For the larger society, justice must mean that the police force must be depoliticized. We don't want police reform. You can reform the police till the cows come out. Until you systematically disentangle the police force from the political clutches of the government, we're not moving an inch. So justice for Adriana must at a minimum mean depoliticizing the police force. To depoliticize the police force, you can't call on the PPP to do it. They are not going to do it.
They will never do. They're benefiting from it. Go ahead, Doc.
And so the depoliticization of the police force has to come through opposition political action. And so if the political opposition is talking about justice for Adriana, they have to be prepared to deal with the issue of the depoliticization of the police force, not by begging the PPP, but by being proactive. So justice must mean the depoliticization of the police force. Justice ultimately must mean the removal of this government via the accepted mode that we have now, which is
elections.
Now, the election, if you're going to remove the PPP via election, then you have to have the conditions for free and fair elections. So justice for Adriana must mean upping the ante on biometrics and a clean voters list. Justice for Adriana must mean upping the ante on biometrics and a clean voters list. It must mean upping the ante on demanding the depoliticization of the police force. Justice for Adriana means that the killing of black young people must stop immediately. It can be next year. This is a state of emergency.
It is.
Too many of our children, and the opposition has to put that on the table and stop pussyfooting about it. Vincent Alexander said at the United Nations, the time for polite silence is over. And I am saying to the opposition, the time for polite silence has to stop. I'm not saying that you are not going to pay. You are going to be paid. You're going to be called racist. They will call you racist anyway. You are, if a couple of some Indians were likely to vote for you, a couple of hundred, some of them may question that. No. So you are going to lose something. But what is more important? The little couple of votes that you're going to lose, or the confidence of the people, the victims of Adriana Hood? Because that is what this is about. This is about the Adriana. What has happened to Adriana has happened to so many black people, young, not so young, not old. And so therefore, our opposition has to make a clear statement. It has to watch its supporters and speak to them as human beings, not as some statistic. Speak to them as human beings. Speak to them and say, we know this is about you. And you are the ones who are going to determine whether we get into government or not. And we have a moral responsibility to integrate your concerns, integrating your problems into our general rhetoric. And so, as I said, justice for the family must mean a few things, but justice for the opposition and for the rest of us must mean something larger. And so I think the opposition leader, Mr. Hughes, they have to come to the party. They have to come to the party. The time for polite silence is over.
Mr. Hughes is not the opposition leader. You said Mr. Hughes, the opposition
Well, no,
leader.
I said the opposition leader and Mr. Hughes. That's what I mean.
Don't frighten to call names, you know. But let me say,
Norman, let's have a good conversation.
No, we're having a good conversation, but
I'm not here to bash opposition.
You said Amanza, you said Mr. Hughes, but you said the opposition. But hold on, Dr. Hinds, let me make this point. Let me make this point. I strongly believe, and it's only because I haven't had the time, and this is the period where I suffer with serious ear fever, which I'm now getting under control. But I will do a live to the diaspora and to the Guyanese people. And to put into perspective the responsibility of us in the opposition, what our responsibility is, and whether we deserve the vote or not. Because we have to introspect. And we have to be honest that the call for the greater responsibility in a situation like Adriana is not a call to the government, because we already have come to the conclusion that the government is the enemy of good, of lawfulness, of lawful behavior and conduct, and it is the enemy of what is right in Guyana. And therefore, once the people of Guyana realize that this is the government we're dealing with, they now must turn to the opposition, which is their vanguard, to say that the buck stops at you. And that when we fail, if we fail, that failure is as a result of your inability to confront the situation effectively and efficiently. And so I'm saying this. I'm saying this, and I'm saying it very seriously. We can say we have the larger block, or the largest block of voters, so we require the right to be at the head of the table at any elections. But we have the largest block of voters, but we don't require the right to be at the forefront for the fight for justice of an innocent 11-year-old child who was denied in the most brutal form the opportunity to say to our young, beautiful mother, Happy Mother's Day. Let me say this way, Dr. Hinds, you will talk, this program is yours. Let me say this to you. You know what I want to say on this program today? That the opposition depends on Norman Brown, and you are an exception. And I want to say to the world, you as a leader of a political party, regardless if you got membership or not, you are an exception and an example of what a real leader should be. But because the mantra is we have the larger block, the largest block, that Hinds is not up in that pecking order. Though Hinds is carrying the fight like Mark Benchop, like Norman Prong, like Rick Ford Burke, like Melly Mel, and others. Hear what I'm saying to you. It is immoral. It is immoral for an opposition that has the largest block of opposition voters to sit back hoping that we can carry the fight while they hide behind the scene, hoping that they get power. It will not happen, Dr. Hinds, under my watch. The death of Adriana has shook the core of every one of us. And I am not using this program to fight for justice, to benefit someone who believes that they entitled to lead. Hear what I'm saying. Let me make it clear. We are tested. Life has a way beyond politics and beyond religion and everything. It has a way of saying to us, life will test you beyond everything else. And the test would be the ultimate test. And we have been tested. Adriana's death. Let's look at this. The man who owns the hotel, we understand from very credible sources that he is free. We know that. You just have to report to the police station. But a little boy who sang a song against a Hindu deity that has not been in physical form for more than 100,000 years, that he sang a song that offended some political hypocrites in the Hindu society, not real Hindus, hypocrites in the Hindu society, that says he must be jailed because who is a young black man to talk about our God like that? And he's locked up. The young nurse who stood up for Adriana, that spoke out a truth, may not be the truth, because the truth is not there yet. We're still looking for the truth. She spoke. She's a young nurse. She had the courage to speak to somebody behind the scene about she's fresh out of training. So you know how up they are when you got the knowledge. This young woman spoke in private. A young woman, a career young woman, spoke in private and is locked up for terrorism. For terrorism, Dr. Hinds. You know what Britain has locked people up for terrorism? You know what America has locked people up for terrorism for? You know what France has locked people up for terrorism for? A government looks into the face of an opposition and says, we can do anything to your people, but I will address this nation not later than Thursday. Because I'll tell you this, the greatest patriots are the ones who call their own out or kill their own for the revolution to happen, to liberate their people. And I wanted to say that. I really, because I will deal with it, but I'm saying this to you. You have inspired me that I can talk like this. You have inspired me.
No, I hear you, but I think we also have to be very careful. The reason our opposition leaders behave the way they behave is the logic of the country takes them there. Nigel Hughes, up until he announced that until he was elected as the leader of the ASC, did yeoman work for African people? He caused to come to the light research on discrimination against black people in contracts. He represented Ipadaji.
You know I'm not talking about Nigel, man. You know that, but ask a general question. Go ahead.
Let me make my point.
Go ahead.
Let me make my point. But once he became the leader, he had to disassociate himself from that. The point I am making is that even as we criticize our political leaders, we have to understand that these guys don't get up and say, well, look, I'm not going to talk about black people issues. The logic of our politics take them there. And we have to be very careful when we're hollering at them to understand that many of us contribute to it. I am yet to see a poll polling all political parties. All we have is AFC, PNC, PPP. And the polls are showing 30% of the people, 25% of the people. I understand sometimes as high as 35% of the people are undecided. If you put other political parties in there, they are represented, but the media, the political commentators, they create the hierarchy. So you have to be very careful, Norman, when you're going after opposition leaders.
But why are you saying I'm going after opposition leaders?
No,
I'm not going after
I don't
opposition
mean
leaders.
you as you.
I choose on this program not to go after the opposition leader.
Norman, listen to me.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. No, but it sounds like you didn't clarify it. You didn't clarify.
And so one has to be very careful when one is doing that. All right? No. The party politics in Guyana is a large part of the problem. And party politics demand that we be loyal to the party and not be loyal to causes, not be loyal to people, but to be loyal to the party. And I think all of us have to be blamed for the political culture that we live in. And that those leaders, we the leaders, are product. Look, the opposition has three types of leadership. They have the party leadership, they have the class leadership, the middle class leadership, that's looking after middle class interests. You have the party leadership that's looking after the interests of the big party. And you have race leadership, which is looking after the dignity of African people. All right? We, as a country, we celebrate the first two. We give them all the coverage. Right? The party leader, the middle class leader, the race leader gets no coverage. But the race leader is telling a truth that the other two leaders cannot tell. And so when we're abusing the other two leaders, we have to ask the country, have you given race leadership the same kind of coverage that you give the other two leadership? No. And then people like yourself get frustrated with them. I get frustrated with them. And we abuse them down. But they are not of their own doing. The elites create them. The media create them. We in the talk show, we create them. Because we focus on them. And we leave out very important aspects of our leadership. And so that is why those people on the road, from the ladies with the candle to the young men who block the roads, they have taken matters in their own hands. And they're not looking to leadership.
Dr. Hinds, I agree with you partially there. You are a political scientist, and as I said, I'm not saying it because we are on a program and thousands of people are watching us right now. But let me say this to you. The concepts you give there just now are not necessarily real in today's society. They're concepts in terms of race leadership, in terms of people follow the party more than they follow, you understand?
No, that's not what I'm saying. You're saying what I have not said.
No.
Let me repeat myself, brother. Let me repeat myself. I am saying the opposition leadership is complex. It is not a unified leadership, right? Part of the leadership is middle class interests. They're representing middle class interests. And we can put brother Nigel, brother Terence in that category. Then we have part of the leadership that is looking after the interests of the party. Brother Norton falls in that category. It's about, as you said, the big party. We got the followers, and so we want to win an election. That's the party interest. And then you have race leadership as represented by people like myself, who are giving leadership to the race. And that's what I'm saying.
You said people. To clarify this point for me, you said people are conditioned more to support party.
No.
What was that point you made? What was that point you made? What did you say?
I never said that.
No, you said that people are more
I said the media. I said the media, the opinion shapers, they narrow things down to very easy explanations. So if you say the three major parties, the PNC, the PPP, and the FP, easy. You go and point a microphone in front of Nigel, you point a microphone in front of Aubrey, one in front of Jagdio, and your story done. If you now have to talk about what are the tendencies in the society, what are the tendencies in the society, how are people in the larger society viewing the world they live in, then you have to go beyond those three leaders. Okay? You have to go beyond those three parties. And that is why, since this thing broke with Adriana, the media and the opinion shapers can't make sense of it, because they have narrowed politics down to three parties. And so when people are out there taking action in their own name, what Walter Rodney called the self-activity of the people, we cannot make sense of it, because they fall outside of our analysis gaze. And that's why we call them scrapers, we call them this, we call them that, without recognizing that they are representing important tendencies coming out of their own lived experience every day that
I agree.
May or may not be in sync with the political party.
I will say this to you before I ask you the final question, and then you give your closing remarks. I'll say this to you, seriously. I know for a fact that there will be more African Indians and Amerindians that will be at the upcoming Vibes Cartel show that will ever go to a meeting that Barra Jagdio call, that Aubrey Norton call, or Nigel Hughes call. I know that for a fact. Right? And I know that the modern generation, this generation, is fighting really hard not to be interested in the hypocrisy of a politics coming from political parties of yesteryear. I know that for a fact. What I know is that we are not changing with the times, or we're not respecting the world that the young people live in to tailor our politics to their benefit that can appeal to them in a way in which they have that independence. I know that for a fact. Let me reiterate. There will be more Indians and Amerindians and black youths that will turn up to the Vibes Cartel show that will ever turn up to a call by Barra Jagdio to a political meeting, Aubrey Norton or Nigel Hughes. I want to say this to you, Dr. Hinds, in my closing. We have reached a point in history in which we have held on to the old ways of politics, and we are bringing it into a society that would say, I want a sanctioned man to be my leader. I want a sanctioned man I don't care what America says. He appeals to us. And I end there. Let me say this to my leader in the struggle. Let me say it to my leader in this. You are my leader in the struggle. You have fought and you have made calls that the opposition, the PPP came down on you with all that they got. But you know why? There's all back because you are not the leader of the opposition. And the leader of the opposition, of the opposition, sorry, and the leader of the FC, they don't really listen to who you really are and what you are saying to the masses. Because if they were listening, they would have adopted what you have been saying. We live in a society that will see the Adrianas at 11-year-old being the human sacrifice. We live in a society that we will see that a Hindu god is more respected and revered than the slaughter of an innocent girl who has not even lost her hymen. The epitome of innocence. And the man could be withdrawing millions of dollars, trying to put it into his wife's account. The police say he must report to the station. When the bank asks him, why you taking all these millions out? He says, for traveling. This is the society we live in. If we fail, Adriana, and I'm talking to the leader of the opposition and to the leader of the AFC, and I can't talk to you because you are a freedom fighter, not only a co-leader of the WPA. And on Thursday I will deal with it. But listen to what I'm saying, my senior brother. We have come to the crossroads. We have come to the crossroads, and I am not fighting to put nobody in power that doesn't deserve to be in power. That is not my work. You got to prove yourself. And when the struggle comes upon you, and when your people are attacked, you got to lead or go. Dr. David Hinds here on Voice of the Diaspora. It gets like this whenever we talk. I have tremendous love and respect for him, and I am guided by a lot that he says, but I will speak my truths too. Dr. David Hinds, Adriana, justice for her. In your wrapping up, what would you like to say to the family of Adriana, the people of Guyana, and the people of the diaspora? Say what you want to say and tie that in with your closing remarks.
Yeah, most of what you said in your monologue just now is right, but some of it is also wrong. The events of the last, from the Melly Mel incident to now, have shown a country that is conscious of what's happening around it. Young people, those people in Linden were young people. Most of those young people in front of the hospital, they were young people. You see, Norman, if we holler at political leaders, that's not going to change them. What changes political leaders is what's happening on the ground. I made the point that the opposition leaders, from the time the thing happened on Monday night, they came out and said we are against blocking roads, we are against burning tires. But as they saw the thing unfold, they began to backtrack that. So we are seeing the leaders maturing as the people are leading the struggle. My brother, this is no time to despair. Martin Carter said, This is my hand for the revolution. That night there'll be thousands of torches. From the hospital the lame will come. Those who are mad will become sane for the revolution. Those who despair shall be glad for the revolution. And I myself shall be so fiercely happy that I'll make my shirt a banner for the revolution. You are in the middle of revolution. You don't have to despair. The leadership will have to respond. They may not respond in the way you would like them to respond, but they have had to. I have seen Brother Nigel walk back his initial comments. I have seen Brother Aubrey temper his comments. Things are changing because people are on the move. You and I hollering at them ain't gonna change them, trust me. That is what's happening on the road. It's changing PPP. Jack Dio said, you heard him? Jack Dio said, the people on that night, some of them were misguided. He's referring to those who blocked the roads and so on. And then some of them were looters. That's an advance to Jack Dio. Before that, he threw all of them in the same boat. But because those of us who have been doing the analysis and saying you cannot throw all the publics in the same boat, we are forcing Jack Dio, we are forcing the leaders of the opposition to take a fresher look at what is happening. So, I mean, you're right, but you're also not paying attention to the very thing that you are arguing for. That is for young people's voice to be heard. Young people's voice have been heard. They're leading the struggle right now. Whether they're scrape heads, no heads, whatever heads you all call them, they are leading this struggle, and they surprised the shit out of all of us because we felt that they depend vice cartel, they depend struggle. But you know, going to vice cartel itself is an act of resistance. Because you and I will tell them, don't go to vice cartel. Well, they say we're going there. But also we come in on the front line too. You have to understand us in our complexity. I want to say something about the young boy who is arrested for singing a song. Artists have license, you know. And this government, with one fell swoop, has taken away the artist license. In any other country, the road in Guyana today would have been full with artists.
Yeah.
In Trinidad, Sparrow sing Marajin. Don't back on me, Marajin. Marajin is the wife of the pandit. And people, the Hindu community, was up in arms. Sparrow disrespecting Hinduism. But the Californians say go to hell. And people flock the tent to hear Sparrow Marajin. All right? Here in Guyana, we are too damn hypocritical. All right? Super Blue sing Soca Baptist. He sing from the Baptist religion. It's not only Hinduism our people sing on. There are many calypso that sing on Muslim people, the Arabs, as they call them in calypso. So the calypso art form, our musical art form, has always had license to push the borders of definition of reality.
And social commentary, yeah.
All this noise about, even long before Sparrow, Lord Rashorty, the man who invented soca, did a calypso called Indrani. And Indians, understandably, they have pushed back against it, But society must move on. The Baptists had pushed back when Blue Boy sings Soca Baptist. Now Soca Baptist is a classic. Marajin is a classic. You see? So what this government is getting away with is that people, the elites, I'm not talking about the masses. The masses will do what they have to do when they have to do it, as we have seen. It is the elites in this society. The elite, where are the cultural elites? When the license, now you can disagree with the content of the boy's song, but you can not take away his license. A man is a carpenter. He uses nails. He uses steel and wood. And if he nail a wrong nail, you can say, boy, the window where you put there is too small. But you don't take away his license as a carpenter.
Yeah. But he's locked up. He's locked up.
The
That's
artist,
taking away his freedom, is not his license only.
No, but
His freedom.
more than taking away his freedom. You're taking away the freedom of artists
Yes, sir.
to
I agree.
express themselves. That's
I
my
agree
point.
with that. And that's a
And that is what I'm
dictatorship.
saying. That's what I'm saying. The dictatorship is not just about the opposition leaders. It's also about the elites, the economic elites, the cultural elites who sit on their behinds and take no stand even when people are poking their profession in its face. That boy's arrest is an assault on the license and the freedom of the artist to depict society as he sees it. No, you can have a problem with his content. He apologized.
He apologized, yeah.
But you're now going to arrest him. And that is where all them who call themselves artists, all them who just go and sell themselves to the PPP to say, well, we're doing business. And if the PPP want, we going to sing at the rally, we going to go, all right, you're right. But now, the very PPP, which is buying your talent, they are now taking away your license from you. In any other country, artists would already been on the road, and they're not on the road. And so I want to end with that.
Yeah, and so, you know, and Dr. Hinds, I know you're ending, but here was the hypocrisy here quickly. He sang that song, and a lot of young black people said that, you know, it's vile, it's a disrespect to the Hindu faith and so on, and you know, whatever. But they're going to Vybz Kartel, who sang a song that says, the woman's pussy is sweet like Jesus. But they're going to go to Vybz Kartel. The government is bringing Vybz Kartel.
Yes,
the Jesus, right. The Christians is
right.
is as Lakshmi is the Hindus. But here is where we are caught in a situation where Vybz Kartel singing a song he just recently released, saying that the woman's pussy or organ or a reproductory organ is nice like Jesus.
Yeah. The hypocrisy is thing.
And Vybz Kartel is coming to make millions.
Yeah.
And he's friends with Irfan Ali, the president. But this boy is locked up. Go ahead, Dr. Hinds. Go ahead.
I repeat.
The value system
the
for blacks.
License is being taken away. And it's people, the singer in the Caribbean has not just sung about Indian religion. Sparrow the Congo man.
Yeah.
Sparrow the Congo man, which all of us dance.
the Congo man. I never eat a white meat, yeah.
He was going against African religion there.
Yeah.
He was bringing African religion into sex.
Yeah.
So it is not just the Hindu. Like I said, Soca Baptist, Congo man, these are all songs where the artist pushes the religious thing and try to break down. David Rudder, I Mass is singing about Christianity and bringing Christianity into the dance hall. Are you going to charge him for terrorism? I mean, you like I said, like I said, part of it is ignorance. Because they don't know the essence of the art form. And I don't expect Irfan Ali and Jack Dio to know that. But the artists should know that. And they should stand up and say, the artist has always taken license. The mighty Kite Shore brought African fatism, comfort, into Calypso. A drunk man walk in a graveyard, and he was a Jordanite. And he brought it. We have a history of pushing the barriers between a popular culture and religion. Again, you can disagree with the content. You can disagree with the content, but that doesn't mean you take the license away from the artist. The artist has that license, and when you take that license away from the artist is no longer an artist. And only yesterday, the journalists, the press association was complaining about what the president is intended to do with the press. And now they're showing what they intended to do with art. This is a commandist police state. And for all those elites who are sitting by and allowing this government to get away with shit, they're going to burn in hell.
The elites are benefiting from the government. The opposition
Some of them are not benefiting. Some of them are not benefiting.
Go ahead, Dr. Hinds. Go ahead, sorry.
My father, I know your fixation with the opposition. And
I don't have no fixation with. Don't insult me now, Dr. Hinds. I don't have no fixation with the opposition.
I made my criticism of the opposition, but I'm saying the opposition is just the political elite. You have cultural elites. You have economic elites. It is the elites in the society who are enabling this government. It is not just the political elites on the opposition side. It's the cultural elites, the economic elites, the religious elites. Look at what that 7 Days Adventist man said the other day. All of that is enabling. He's what you call the religious elite. In the sense that the people got to go through it to get to Jesus. And look at what he's saying. My brother, we have to understand the hypocrisy of the society we're living in. And we have to be broad-based in our critique. Our critique cannot be one-sided. Well, not one-sided. Cannot be one track. Our critique has to be broad-based.
Our critique can be pointed to, Dr. Hinds. It can be pointed.
Yes.
Look.
But it also,
go ahead.
If you want to point without isolating, it is the confluence. It is the confluence of the behavior of the elites that is enabling this government.
Dr. Hinds, the elites don't decide policy. The elites don't decide what the police do. The elites don't decide whatever. Politics govern Guyana. Politics, and Barra Jagdio is the government of Guyana. He is the single politician. Hold on. Here was saying to you. No, man, don't, you're right for laugh. Here was saying to you, you could say everything is, and I got respect for you. The bottom line of the layman know already that the politics is what decides if a man eat tomorrow, if a man get contract tomorrow, if a man could jump on a minibus, if a man could get locked up or don't get locked up. If a young girl that do a voice note could get locked up or don't get locked up. It's the politics. It got nothing to do with the elites. Nothing to do with the elites outside of politics. And I mean that. And we will address that.
If you believe Transparency International, politicians are captives of elite interests.
Politicians are wicked in Guyana. Dr. Hinds, thank you so much. And say what you want to say before we go. Say what you want to say before we go. I want you to end it.
Like I said, my job is partly to advocate, but partly to teach.
Yes, sir.
And you just said something that is not true. Politics is the captive of elite interests in society. All right? politician doesn't act in isolation.
That's textbook. That's not Guyana. That's textbook, man. No, come on. No,
but my brother, is not no textbook when that politician has to go to that business.
But Jagdio is the elite in Guyana.
Let me finish, no man.
No man, go on now. Talk now.
That politician has to go to a businessman to get money to run his campaign.
Get money for run work campaign is nonsense you're talking now. Jagdio don't got to go to nobody. Listen, hold on a minute, hold on. But Dr. Hinds, hold on. No, I can't allow you. Here I sent you. Sheriff security. The real estates in America. Let's talk. All
no,
where you going now? Where are you going? Don't bluff me, Dr. Hinds. But Jagdio gotta go to business people. Jagdio is the boss of Guyana. And you can't tell me. Thank you so much for being on the program. Did you have something else to say before you go?
No, I
don't want to be going no bad terms. Me, you good.
I am partly a teacher. I'm partly an advocate. And part of our problem in Guyana is that we are too sometimes, and I am part of it too, we're sometimes too simplistic in our explanation of reality. And then we expect our people to be advanced. Sometimes we have to step back from our platform and say, let us answer this question, what it is to be human. And what it is to be human does not necessarily mean what it is to be politically correct.
The family of Adriana is grappling with that, sir, and they are not politically correct. Thank you so much, Dr. Hinds. Is grappling with what it is to be human. And you know why they're grappling with that? Because the domination of Jagdio's politics is making them grapple with that. Jagdio decides what Ikin does. Jagdio decides what Airfund does. Jagdio, let's don't play no classroom politics here.
And
Dr. Hinds, thank you so much.
And the people of Guyana decide what they do. And they have decided in the last 3 weeks what they will do, and they've shown Jagdio and whoever else you can call that they can take over country for one night.
And they're being locked up. They're being locked up on terrorism charges, and the political arm of our side is doing nothing. Jagdio is winning. Dr. Hinds, thank you so much. You are a great man. I love you, always will. We'll finish this conversation, but I am telling you, I don't want no textbook talk. Jagdio decides, and until he's confronted, we could talk about elites and intellect and classroom and Martin Carter. Jagdio is everything in Guyana, and until he stopped, we are making no sense. This is not about intellect no more, this is war. And he has to go. Thank you so much, sir, for being on the program, and I hope to have you back soon. Dr. David Hinds here, a great man, a great politician. We fight. We do it like this all the time, but he will be back. Thank you so much for being here on the program.
Confident in you, Jaja, when you're not gonna make me suffer. Enemies trying them up it, scatter and batter and flatter. Protect my people, Jah. No make them get caught in the crossfire. Protect my nation, Jah. Cause we no want me no land to no slaughter. Protect my people, Jah. A Babylon start this wildfire. Protect my nation, Jah. Hey, protect my nation, Jah. Downtown and on playground, you know. Holy potential trouble surround. Marcus prophesy, head I go roll. I wonder if prophecy I go unfold. Uptown, can't go downtown, you know. All country people worried, you know. With means of survival blurred. Worried in a Middlesex land, well I'm sorry. Father help me, some nana have mercy. Father help me, preserve Jamaica beauty. I want you protect my people, Jah. No make them get caught in the crossfire. Protect my nation, Jah. Hey, protect my people, Jah. Hey, look at the youth, them, watch them. Can the beast have a system to trap them? The police and the thugs are your children. And you alone have authority to judge them. Could I go suffer for bad? The place I go mad. No make it get bad like over Baghdad. When politics fail and religion fail, and most I alone will. Protect your people, Jah. No make them get caught in the crossfire. Protect my people, Jah. Cause we no harm in a land to no slaughter. Protect your people, Jah. A Babylon start this wildfire. Protect your people, Jah, 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 Jah. Jah, Jah. I tell a town, and I be a ground, you know. Whole heap of tension, troubles around. Marcus prophesy, it a go roll. Me wonder if I know prophecy a unfold. Up down, can go downtown, you know. All country people worried, you know. With means of survival worried. Worries in a Middlesex land,